What he failed to realize was that her lipstick was smeared all over his lips. Even her hand was still firmly wrapped around his waist. The way she looked at me screamed mockery and victory. Even though I was ready to leave, seeing what was happening in front of me still made it impossible to breathe. I forced a smile and said, "I'm just here to drop off your keys. Have fun." I set the keys on the table and didn't look back. Ignoring the voices behind me, I walked out. On the street, I was surrounded by the stream of cars and flickering lights along the road. All that I felt was a cold emptiness. I couldn't see where I was going or hear anything. My mind went back to 5 years ago, when we went on that trip to the Obi Desert. Jackson and I got lost and ended up wandering for a whole day and night. There was absolute silence all around, with nothing but the feel of his hand in mine. Back then, he had gestured with his hands, saying that if we died together, at least it would be a fitting end to our love. He had always said his love for me would be unwavering until death, but I supposed our relationship had reached the end of the road. When I got home, my whole body felt like jelly. I collapsed onto the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. The first time I met Jackson was at a job fair. The moment I saw him, I fell hopelessly for him. Since then, everyone knew I was pursuing him. Before this, he had rejected every other woman who confessed to him. That was until I appeared. I found ways to see him every day, talked to him, and took him out to eat, relentlessly pursuing him for 3 years. Even after being rejected over and over, my feelings never wavered. One night, an employee who had just been fired got drunk and started causing trouble, blocking Jackson at his company's entrance. Everyone else ran, but I threw myself in front of him. We both got beaten until we passed out, covered in blood, before the troublemaker finally left. That incident left me hearing impaired, but it also stirred his feelings for me at last. Jackson had held my bloodied body, his voice shaking with fear. "Let's get married, Quinn." After we got together, my love never waned, while his only got stronger. When Bonnie was born, she always treated me as the deaf mom. Jackson had to spend countless sleepless nights teaching her sign language so that I could communicate with her better. The sound of the door lock snapped me out of my memories. I rolled onto my side, pretending to be asleep. Not long after, I felt movement behind me. Then, his hands began roaming all over me. His warm breath brushed against my neck. This was how he showed desire. Had this been a few weeks ago, I would have lost control and responded to Jackson, but now, all I felt was disgust and nausea. Just a week ago, my hearing was finally restored. I came home, excited to share the news with him and Bonnie, only to hear his wild groans echoing from the guest bedroom. My whole body froze. I even questioned if I was imagining it. Before I could barge into that room, Bonnie, who had always looked down on me, came up with an excuse to get me to help with her homework. She pushed me aside, muttering, "I don't need you ruining Mommy Cassie's fun." That was when I realized just how much she wanted me, her mother, replaced. They all assumed I was still deaf and oblivious to their actions, but little did they know, I heard every single thing. That day, I applied for a teaching program in Cerro Plateau and booked my flight ticket. Just like what Jackson and I had once promised each other, if one of us ever betrayed the other, the betrayed one would disappear. So, I decided I would vanish from his world completely. I did not want him or Bonnie. However, the memories of him and Cassidy going at it in the next room kept echoing in my head. My stomach twisted, and I instinctively shot upright and shoved him away. Jackson let out a sharp cry and fell to the floor. I froze for a second, reflexively trying to help him up, but my hands wouldn't move. He wasn't mad. Instead, he looked at me with worry. "Quinn, what's wrong?" I opened my mouth to answer, then remembered I was supposed to be deaf. A moment passed before he realized it too. He lifted his hands and started signing. "Nothing," I replied, "just a little unwell." Then, as if something clicked in his mind, he suddenly panicked and began signing frantically. "Cassidy is just an old schoolmate. Please don't get the wrong idea about us." He was always the calm and composed type, yet today, because of her, he had completely lost control. I didn't bother responding and simply brushed him off. "I'm tired." Click the link in my bio to get the full story for free.